As independent as I am, as removed from the industry I am, I'm still shackled by things like iTunes, by things like these digital aggregators. Like I have to, it's set up in such a way that I have to some degree, get involved in digital distribution and stuff so I can get my music out there. That's why this decentralization and blockchains and cryptocurrency and NFTs, that's why this is so important for independent artists moving forward into the future.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the largest crypto channel in all the interwebs. My name is Ben. Every day on this channel, I show you how to make money in crypto. If you like money in crypto, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Guys, today I've got Tom MacDonald, one of my favorite rappers and other YouTubers on the channel today to talk about NFTs, but it's not your average NFT conversation. As you know, we have plenty of celebrities and athletes come on the channel who are making their own NFTs. Well, Tom is known for buying an NFT, a $100,000 beat called Stan's Revenge by Eminem that he actually used in a rap song to pay homage to Eminem. We're going to be talking about that, but we're also going to be discussing decentralization and why he believes the blockchain is the key to decentralizing the future. All right, let's jump into the interview. Hey everybody, today I'm joined by Tom MacDonald, one of my favorite rappers out there. Phenomenal career, one of the hardest working guys, definitely not just on YouTube and the rap game, but anywhere. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, brother. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about this Eminem NFT that you purchased and kind of the unique perspective that you took with it. But one thing that's interesting is a lot of people know when we have celebrities come on to my channel, a lot of times they've got an NFT that they're trying to sell. Well, this is actually the exact opposite. You bought an NFT and you did something really crazy with it. So let's get into it. The NFT was Eminem's NFT. It was called Stan's Revenge. It was a beat that he made. Kind of talk a little bit about how you found out that was even a thing and what you came to understand about NFTs. And then we'll get into the song itself.
Right. So I've been into NFTs for like a few months. Like I've always been a big collector before NFTs. I've been collecting coins and comic books and wrestling action figures and CDs. Like I've just been collecting stuff my whole life. So sort of when the NFT thing came about and it was like collecting in a digital space, a lot of one-of-one exclusive stuff, that was just like really big to me. I was just immediately interested in something new that I could collect. So I started researching and going into the Clubhouse chats and talking to people online and meeting people on Twitter and just researching the stuff. And while I'm researching, my girlfriend has jumped like feet first into this, and she's like getting crypto and buying NFTs and running the stock market and like doing all this stuff. And she had mentioned to me, hey, Eminem's dropping NFTs. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. What are they? And she said, oh, they're these like action figures that like, they look like trading cards or something. Yeah. So the NFTs dropped, she scooped those up, got all three of them or whatever. And I was like super jealous, to be honest, because I was like, yo, that's like the coolest thing. I'm the collector and you're somehow starting your collection before mine. This isn't right. And I went outside to work out, and while I was exercising, I was like, you know what? Let me look into these NFTs, see if there's anything left. So I went and looked at the ShadyCon Eminem NFT drop, and the only thing that was left was the one-of-one Stan's Revenge, which came with an original beat produced by Eminem, a pair of shoes, an autographed vinyl, and like a roll of 8mm film from a music video or something. And I'm a huge sneakerhead, so I was like, that's rad that it comes with the shoes. Obviously, his first album's an iconic thing. I said, that's cool. But what really piqued my interest was that original beat produced by Eminem. And I just, as a 14-year-old inside, who fell in love with Eminem and became a rapper because of that, I was like, I have to get my hands on that beat. So the bid was at 45,000 or something. I went back and forth with people for 15 minutes. Realized that every time I made a bid, 10% of my bid was charged to my account. I had a $30,000 limit on my account. I had to call the bank, get them to bump that up to 100.
We know the bank problems.
Then they told me, the bank, right?
Yeah.
And then they told me you can only make 15 transactions today. So then I couldn't be engaged in the bid war. I had to wait I'd burn up all my transactions. So I had to wait until the last 15 seconds, threw down the final bid.
Oh, wow.
Won it for 100 grand, shot the music video, released it, and boom. And like you said, the beat was called Stan's Revenge. So it just kind of set me up to do a little bit of a homage or part 2 to Eminem's original Stan video. And that's how my song Dear Slim was born.
Yeah. And one thing I thought was cool was how Nova does a lot of your work on your videos with you. That's your girlfriend.
Right.
You guys went like thrift shopping and found like all the stuff to kind of recreate Stan's room from the original video.
Dude,
that was so cool. That was awesome.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, 2 weeks of thrift shopping. Like, you wouldn't believe how hard it is to find a VCR these days. So 2 weeks of thrift shopping. We got all this stuff for Stan's room. It's actually right across the hall from here. We built it in my spare bedroom. I got on the phone with a bunch of junkyards. I found a Monte Carlo that was like a year or two different than the original Monte Carlo that was in Eminem's Stan video. So we bought the Monte Carlo. I sanded it down. I painted it. At the end of the Stan video that Eminem did, Stan drove the Monte Carlo off a bridge into a river. So I banged up the car, put a big water rig inside it so it was constantly leaking water, covered it in seaweed, and put it in a warehouse and sat on top of it and performed. So
yeah. Now, is this your biggest song to date, numbers wise?
I mean, I have songs that have 15, 20, 30 million views / streams. So,
but what about in terms of it during this time period? I guess,
if you're talking about this time period, it's probably pretty close, because like my last big record, which came out like a month or two ago, was Fake Woke, and that got picked up by the news. And I was actually on Fox and like a bunch of stuff like that. So that one grew pretty quickly, but I think that growth didn't really exponentially start happening until about 2 weeks into release. So I think in this time frame, it's been out for a little over a week. It's getting near 7 million views. So it's definitely top 2 for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's, one thing you do is, like a lot of the anti-woke, messaging, because I agree with you. People are definitely too woke these days. I like, a lot of the songs you do on that. But back to Eminem, here's a funny story. I'll give you a little funny story about me. So I obviously, like everybody else, loved Eminem in high school. And that would have been when he came out. And so the popular thing to do at that time was to bleach your hair, right? That was a big thing. Real Slim Shady, you bleach the hair. There you go. You still got it. So I actually bleached my hair and went to school, and it just so happened to be picture day. So I got a picture with the bleach hair, and then I got home, and my stepdad didn't like it and made me shave it off. But there's one picture, one day of my entire life I had bleached hair, and it's in the yearbook. So I still have the proof.
That's rad.
Yeah, maybe I should cut that out of my yearbook I still have and make it into an NFT. So, but let's talk a little bit about one thing you like about crypto, because we were talking before we came on this interview here, and you said your girlfriend, she's really into it. I know you were saying that she's gotten full force into crypto. You are much more interested in the decentralization aspect of crypto, as opposed to, you've done very well for yourself. Like, you don't want to become a billionaire or anything like that. Like, you're interested in decentralization as you consider yourself a self-produced rapper. What kind of term do you consider for yourself?
I mean, I'm fully independent. I've done my entire music career has been entirely removed from the music industry. I don't have a manager. I don't have a publicist. I don't have an agent. I don't have a record label. I have nothing. I've never relied on the industry or any industry resources. I'm completely removed myself from the music industry.
Yeah.
I've just always been interested in doing things my way, and having the freedom to do so, absolute freedom. And the only way to do that is to, I own every single master. I write every single song. I produce every single beat. My girlfriend shoots the music videos. We release them independently, distribute my music independently. We make the merch. We make the CDs. We sign the CDs. We make the artwork, everything. You know, I'm working 22-hour days right now. Like, it's every single day. And it's absolutely worth it. So when the NFT thing came about, and I have to shout out my friend Ryan Lowe, who actually introduced me to this concept, months and months and months and months and months ago. He's actually woke me up at 8:30 in the morning last week and said, "Oh my God, BitBoy is about to talk about you on YouTube." And then that's when I jumped into YouTube and sent you the super chat. And then I hung out laying in bed watching the whole thing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. So my whole interest in it, aside from, you know, NFTs and collecting and stuff, to the fact that cryptocurrency, anytime somebody says the word decentralized, I'm on board.
Yeah.
If you're going to take money, power, influence away from the establishment and the institutions, that I've literally been doing that my entire life in regards to the music industry. So if people are going to take that a step further with crypto, and they're going to cut out the banks, and they're going to cut out all these different institutions and money people, I'm on board.
Yeah.
So my whole thing has been screw the man since I was 10 years old. So the fact that this is happening now, and it's information about it is becoming so accessible, and user friendly, like, this is just an amazing time for me to be who I am in a creative space, because it's a whole new world where, instead of just talking in songs about screw this, screw that, blah, 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 anti-establishment, now I can take that a step further and really hit them where it hurts, you know?
Yeah.
And people can collectively do that together. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Where does that come from? Like, were you just like rebellious I was a rebellious kid for sure. Were you just like rebellious? You didn't like the idea, or like, was there something that kind of like spurred you on to be like, you know, wanting to do everything different and wanting to do everything kind of outside of that, like the music industry, for instance?
Yeah. You know, I don't think that I didn't ever have that epiphany. I didn't ever have sort of like a turning point in my life. It's literally just been like that from the jump. I don't like police. I don't like teachers. I don't like doctors. I don't like anybody that tries to exert any type of authority over me. I'm just like not with it. And I just never have been. I don't know. I've always just been a pain in the ass to those people.
Yeah.
And, you know, decentralized is a pain in the ass of the biggest authoritative figure on the planet.
Sure.
And like, that's like, I'm made for this, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, that's definitely what got me hooked into this. I hate, and I know you can relate to this, like, I hate censorship. Like, that drives me crazy. Somebody's got an idea or opinion, and somebody else that's an overarching figure is going to be like, no, that's not valid. We're not going to support that. We're not going to say that. And so that was something for me that really got me like hooked into crypto down the rabbit trail. It was like, wow, we have this way where we can actually kind of get rid of some of these people and some of these third parties, whether it's credit card processors or whether it's social media overlords. And I'm sure you deal with that on YouTube sometimes. And so that's really what got me hooked into this. That's why I stayed through the bear market when, you know, there was no money to be made in crypto, is because the decentralization aspect is really like definitely why I'm in this. And so for you, from your perspective, kind of how do you see, have you put any thought to like audio NFTs? And what I mean by that is where you are doing your music, it's on the blockchain, it's NFT. I know you, for years, I believe you signed every album that people ordered. I know you just ended that. I know you said because of like, you just can't do it anymore. I relate to that. Like, I can't check messages anymore. You know, it's just, there's stuff that happens when you get to a certain place where you got to change. But what about like utility for some of those NFTs could be like, you know, 5-minute Zoom call with you, or like, that's what we're seeing with a lot of these NFTs. They're going to the place of where it's actually access to people. Are those anything, you know, that might interest you, or any ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I really want to do NFTs of my own, and I have a binder of what I think are pretty innovative things that you can do with NFTs, and pretty cool things that you can attach to NFTs, and you know, stuff like you said, like the Zoom call, but more than that, I've really been developing this idea. My whole thing is that, like, NFTs have sort of just hit, quote unquote, the mainstream, and I feel like there's like a lot of artists that are big, major label, institutionalized artists that are seeing this stuff work and seeing it hit, and they're like, oh, we got to get in on that. We got to go make our $10 million. We got to get that money. So as much as I want to get involved, I feel like it's people like that who are going to give all musicians a bad reputation as far as NFTs go, because these people's heart isn't in the right place. Their motivation is not authentic. Their reasons for wanting to do NFTs are not genuine. It's a money grab. So I've just been sort of quietly sitting back, waiting for the NFT communities to tell these people to beat it and weed them out. And after, you know, all these major label artists jump in, and then they get sort of cold shouldered by the NFT community, and they kind of, you know, bugger off and things calm down a little bit, then I'll step into this space. But I don't want to get in while all these other guys are jumping ship to make money and making all artists look bad. So they're kind of screwing the game up for people right now who legitimately are interested in the space. So I'm just going to let them filter themselves out. And once they beat it, I'll step in and do my thing.
Yeah, I like that. I like with Tom MacDonald. You get what you see. I like that. 100% authentic. Everything you say, like, always lines up with the ideas of your music. And I think that's a great way to look at it. I think that we're going to see several different waves of NFTs, several different, just like you see with any collectibles. And you said you're a collector. I mean, you know, you see it with sneakers, you see it with baseball cards or football cards, or I don't know, you're in Canada. So what is the game?
I'm in the States. I'm from Canada, but I'm
you were in the States. I didn't know that. I thought you were in Canada. I was about to say, what's the game with the ice where they curling? I was gonna say curling cards.
Oh, I was gonna say hockey. So I guess I'm not that Canadian anymore. I've been in the States too long.
I was going to say some curling NFTs once they come and get their piece. But in all seriousness, you know, we're going to see ups and downs with it. I think the important thing is the NFTs are the future. And right now people are kind of taking advantage of them like it's a cash grab. But at some point, things are going to level out. And I definitely can't wait to see what you've got. I know it'll be some really cool, innovative stuff. And another thing I want to comment on was you said that, you know, Nova had gotten into you know, collectibles. You're like, I'm the collector. But I think that just shows like how easy it is for people to become collectors in this market. And I think that's
absolutely,
lowering the barrier to entry for stuff. And I've said for a long time, like, people look at the artists and they say, wow, like, not music artists, but, you know, graphic artists, or, you know, art artists. I don't know what you call them. People that draw things or, you know, paint for a living. Well, what the thing is like, there's only so much of kind of the people that are interested in that in the real world. Like here in Cobb County where I live, I don't have an art gallery near me. I can't like go to like some art gallery, but digitally that removes that border. And so I think what we're going to see is we are going to see like a whole new generation of people that are art collectors and want to, you know, want to get in the space.
Absolutely. People are becoming art collectors literally on accident right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they don't even know, like, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I got 25 pieces of art in my wallet right now. Like, yeah, I guess I'm an art collector. Like,
there you go.
It's kind of cool. So,
and so for musicians like yourself, I know you know what it's like to grind and get to the top. And, you know, there's, for every Tom MacDonald that makes it out there, there's, you know, 100 people that don't. But what we might be able to do through all of these NFTs is just, you know, remove borders and make it easier for people to get in. And one last thing I wanted to mention to you was about, you had said that you believe that there's like some manipulation on the iTunes markets. And I think decentralization could solve that. You like want to talk briefly about kind of some stuff you've seen in the last few weeks regarding that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not going to name anybody specifically, but it's just like, look, I've been watching the iTunes charts for a long time. And unfortunately for me, that Eminem inspired song, Dear Slim, that was birth of the NFT that I bought. Like, unfortunately, that song came out the same day as two major superstar artists. Yeah. So we all end up on the iTunes charts together, and we're in the top 3. And it's me and these 2 other people. And these other 2 artists are institutionalized mainstream artists. So they have banners everywhere, like on all over Apple Music, all over Spotify. Like, they've got advertisements, banners, commercials. They're running ads on everybody's videos. Like, their promotion is everywhere. Like, these are multi millions of dollars in ad budgets that are being spent to promote these albums. And me, an independent artist, is competing with them on the charts. And yeah, I mean, that will be proven tomorrow when Billboard releases the charts and I'm at the top. So yeah, or close to. Yeah, competitively charting with these artists. So I know that there's people in record labels pulling their hair out. There's people losing jobs over this. They're saying, we spent $5 million on this and this and this. How is this kid competing with us right now? And like, it's got to be ugly over there. Yeah. So I'm watching the charts, and lo and behold, all of a sudden, ding, ding, I start passing them. The second I start passing them, I blast it out on my socials. Hey, yeah, we just hit number 2. We're winning. The next day, those artists release clean versions of their songs. So the clean versions climb the charts and knock me out. So all day I'm campaigning, go download the song, download the song, download the song. Ding, ding, ding. All of a sudden we're beating the clean versions of the songs. Yep. The next day, instrumentals of the songs release. And the instrumentals climb the charts and knock me out. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, they're obviously aware of how we're charting right now. And so I just start clicking on stuff. I click on my song. You know, it's not an issue that they're releasing multiple versions of the same songs. I mean, it's kind of dirty pool, but at the same time, it's fair game. Like, it's a marketing strategy. I get it. So whatever. So I look at my song, Dear Slim. I see that it has the popularity bar on iTunes and Apple Music is full. It has 4.5-star reviews. It has 500 reviews or whatever. I go to these songs that are charting above me on the iTunes charts. The popularity bar hasn't even registered. It has 0% popularity. There's not enough reviews to give a star rating, and there's no actual written reviews on the songs. So I'm just sitting there thinking, like, okay, like, maybe the data hasn't registered yet. Maybe that's too new. But then I went back 24 hours later and I looked, and there's still no popularity rating, and there's still no star reviews, and there's still no written reviews by customers. So this could be some sort of internal technological error. It could. Like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but it seems a little sketchy to me.
Seems a little sketch, a little sus, as the kids say these days.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man, with these big, you know, platforms like that. Like, they can be manipulated, and 9 times out of 10 they're manipulated by money. Yep. And it ties into what you said earlier about censorship and freedom. Like, blockchain, crypto, all this stuff is the only way to get absolute freedom. Like I said, I'm completely independent of the music industry. I've released all my stuff myself. I use a digital aggregator to get my music onto these big platforms, Spotify and iTunes and blah, 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 blah. That digital aggregator is supposed to be the answer for independent artists who want to bypass the music industry. A year and a half ago, I was releasing a song that was quote unquote too controversial, and my digital aggregator hit me up personally on the phone and said, we are not releasing this song.
Wow.
That's the person that is supposed to have my back. Yeah. That's supposed to be holding me down in the face of these record labels. So it's like, there is, as independent as I am, as removed from the industry I am, I'm still shackled. Yeah. By things like iTunes, by things like these digital aggregators. Like, I have to, it's set up in such a way that I have to some degree, get involved in digital distribution and stuff so I can get my music out there. That's why this decentralization and blockchains and cryptocurrency and NFTs, that's why this is so important for independent artists moving forward into the future.
Yeah, I couldn't say any better. I mean, what it all boils down to is the game is rigged. And the only way we've got a chance to unrig the system, from top to bottom, is through blockchain. Now, it may not work. The powers that be, they may step in and somehow prevent stuff from developing, whether it's, you got like China saying they're going to ban crypto. They can't really ban crypto. But you see a lot of this negativity move towards crypto and blockchain because they want to push it away because they want to stay in power. It may not work, but it's our only chance. Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining me today. I mean, it's been a fascinating conversation. And as I mentioned before, I am an absolute huge fan of yours. So this is definitely one of the perks of the job, getting to talk to people like you that I really admire. And I really admire your work ethic. You were talking about 20 hours a day. That's how I built this channel, was 20 hours a day. So I can relate to that 100%. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate you. And thanks for joining me today.
Hey, man, you got a fan of me as well, brother. Much love. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Well, that was a fascinating interview. I want to know down below in the comments what you thought about Tom's comments on decentralization and censorship resistance. I couldn't believe what he said about his aggregator that gave him a hard time about putting out a song. He should have the freedom to do what he wants to do. But I want to know your thoughts and your opinions down below. That's all I got. Thanks to Tom for coming on, of course. Be blessed. Big boy out.